Is it just me and you, my love? Don't even call you no hoe. I can talk about the things that you do, love. Me is too right. You got some bass in the trunk, my love.
Damn. Yo, it's your boy Chauncey.
And it's your favorite boyfriend, Uncle Wayne.
This is the WTF He Say podcast.
That's what's up.
Yo. What's up, Uncle Wayne?
What's good, brother? What's good, man?
Doing all right?
Yeah, man. After what I just saw, a little shocked. But, like anything, as always, I'm happy to be here. In my right mind with a reasonable portion of health and strength. Thankful for the little bit that I have, which ain't much, but it's enough.
Yeah. That was a shock factor, right?
Yeah. It's a lot of things to talk about there.
Yeah. There's a lot to unpack in that video we just went ahead and experienced. Because I don't think there's no other way that you can say that. That's an experience to watch in itself, right?
Right. He was fighting for his life there.
I don't even think he knew it.
Right.
I don't think he knew he was fighting for his life. Yeah. That's one of those things, man. I mean, they look like young people too.
Right. And we've talked in the past about conflict resolution. Obviously, the young lady didn't have any conflict resolution skills when it got to that point. And it's a serious topic on its intimate partner violence here.
Yeah, I think so as well. And there's a lot in this video. The first thing I like to do is just commend the young man there for how he handled that. I don't know if I'd have the same restraint as he did, but he definitely prevented himself from escalating the use of force continuum when he had every right to escalate the use of force continuum. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, it definitely appeared to be from what I could see, a self-defense situation. And then he used a lot of this restraint, throwing knives away, throwing weapons away after he was able to take them from out of her hands. It doesn't give any indication that he was hurt, but with all of that knife swinging and slinging, somebody got cut some superficial wounds, I'm quite sure,
definitely,
during that process.
Yeah, very rarely are you involved in a knife fight like that and you don't suffer some kind of defensive wound, minor cuts and stuff. That could be major cuts as well, but he definitely suffered something, just my opinion, based off watching that video.
Yeah, and it looked like he could have potentially had some training in knife defense. He kind of got his body a little small when he needed to. Was able to attack the wrist. He didn't grab the knife. Ultimately, got out of her hand because she came over with the Amityville Horror off the top. Then she came with what looked like a backhand type motion. So he had defending in different ways,
different attacks.
Yeah, different attacks to save himself.
That young lady was relentless.
Yes, and she was very small, but she was obviously very strong in intention to kill
or do great bodily injury.
What shocked me is the way she just cut off when she was unable to continue to enter and engage in the attack. When he was able to get safe, shut the door and lock it, he was like, just cut it off and walking away like.
Yeah, I mean, the video initially starts with, it looks like him just trying to force her out. She has a knife. She comes wielding both of those knives at him, and he's able to get away from him. Then when he gets back inside, but she kind of wiggles herself back in there, and it looks like she grabs the whole knife block.
Right.
With all of the knives on them, and that somehow ends out in the hallway. So he's throwing knives down the hallway away from her and trying to grab the knife block to get back inside. And then he does, and then he has to end up pulling her back out by her leg at one point.
Because she forces her way back in.
Right. And then at the last point when he gets back in and she reaches in there and grabs like the teapot or the coffee, whatever that is. And then once he's able to close the door, she just stands there for a second. Like you said, the light switch goes off or comes on, however you want to look at it. And then she just calmly walks away.
Right. Like nothing. What do you do if that's your son?
If it's your son, you got to have some serious conversations with him. And this is why it's important to be a involved parent, right? Because you do set an example of what your kids see and what they are accustomed to.
And what's normal in your life, what they see is normal if they see bickering and fighting, fussing all the time, then that's normal.
Right. And then so those situations to them seem normal. That's why it's important, the example that you set for your kids, man, on what you allow them to see, what you allow them to be exposed to. And then the biggest thing is teaching our kids and your kids, your son, your daughter, whoever, conflict resolution skills.
Right. Right. We
Right.
don't talk about that enough in relationships.
No, because everybody thinks conflict resolution is fighting. Like, you ain't doing what I like you to do, then I hit you.
Right.
Right.
Or it's always resolved when I get my way.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's fine when I win. It's because I got my way, so it's resolved.
Yeah. Right. It's communication. That's the only way to have conflict resolution. Is communication.
And now, as a father of a daughter, and if I see this as my daughter, she needs some help.
Yeah, definitely.
I get wind of this. I know that I need to give my daughter some help
Immediately.
because she could have killed this man and seriously gotten herself injured. And without video, who knows what the story could have been, was going to be told.
Yeah, this video is a lot to take in. And unfortunately, I don't know if anything additionally may have happened, after I post this video.
Right. Or we don't know what happened before inside of the house.
Yeah.
But by the time it got to the point where that kind of knife attack happens, definitely they needed to separate. That conversation needs to be had with both parties. It's my daughter. Hey, honey, you don't need to be involved with this. This is too toxic.
Yeah.
This, you're gonna kill each other.
Right. And if a person brings that kind of emotion out of you, that's not your person.
Right. There's a lot of conversation about your person, that terminology, and that's not your person.
Right. Because
as I'm gonna do like the old folks say, I'm gonna hold your hand when I say this. That is not your person, honey.
Him not for you. She not for you.
No.
Right. If a person has you that much out of character,
no.
Yeah, it's time to let that go.
There's no way. You're gonna end up in the judicial system
very easily.
Or
this incident right here should have you in the judicial system.
Yes.
And
unfortunately, you and I have had experiences where we've seen these incidents turn fatal. Yeah, where men have killed women, and in the state in which South Carolina, which we live, is I believe we're ranked 6th for men killing women. Based on recent stats, I think they do stats maybe a year prior, so it'd be 2023. Also, 1 in every 4 women, based on some research that I've done, are victims of intimate partner violence, and also in our state, and 1 in every 7 men.
Yeah, so this video definitely spawns a deeper conversation, not just about this video in particular, but as Uncle Wayne mentioned, it's intimate partner violence, also known as domestic violence, right? Same mama, different daddy. The bottom line is household members or people who are involved in relationships who think that conflict resolution is violence, right? And that is not the answer. Never. You cannot control people by violence, and you should not allow someone to control you by violence. And this is one of those things where, I hate to say it this way, but it just kind of is what it is. People should definitely get a second chance in life, right? If you make a mistake in your relationship, maybe you did something that your spouse or your significant other didn't appreciate, and you got to adjust, right?
Right.
Okay, I apologize. I won't let that happen again. I forgot to take the trash out, or I left my clothes laying around, or whatever the case it may be. I spent too much money. I ain't been really, paying attention. I forgot to pay this bill.
Right.
Those are things that you work through. Violence is not one of the things I believe you get a second chance to in a relationship. Now, a person can move on to another relationship and potentially get a second chance at a relationship. I believe in that. Just because you had some kind of violent encounter with someone doesn't immediately negate the fact that you can ever have a person again.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Be in a relationship again. But with this person, it can only be a one strike thing. The first time that happens, you don't get a second chance at this.
And history has shown, and my experience has shown, that if you ever get to this point, this is definitely not the first time.
Correct.
And also, statistics have shown by the time it's the first 911 call, that wasn't the first time that person has done something, thrown something in disgust or an upset, or even hit you before, got in your face. There's something else that's happened before. And then another time, ultimately, the 911 call is made. So by the time it's the 911 call, it's not the first time.
Correct.
First time the police may have been called.
Correct. And if you're involved in a relationship or any relationship, you got to pay attention to potential grooming behaviors in these aspects, right?
Yeah, and these red flags.
Yeah, pay attention to them, right? Because they typically don't just pop up out of nowhere, right? There's always some steps prior to it happening.
Right.
But the biggest thing, and from my experience, is that people are unable to control their emotions. Those are the people that you have to be most concerned about. If you're dating someone or in a relationship with you're in a relationship with someone who cannot control their emotions, they lack emotional maturity, that typically is someone who will be potentially violent.
Yeah, controlling or manipulating.
Yeah. That's not a situation that you want to find yourself in. There are, I think we talked about this before, or maybe just in a personal conversation about the available resources for people who are involved, or
Yes, so there are obviously some local organizations that can help, also some national. So at some point, we want to put that information out to you all so that if you know someone suffering from intimate partner violence, they can reach out to these resources out there in their community.
Yeah, we'll definitely plug some in the links below for anybody who feels like they either need to or have somebody that they know who needs to. And Uncle Wayne has said this before. Everyone has experienced intimate partner violence.
Everybody has.
Right? Nobody is safe. It touches everyone. And that's whether you are a victim, a suspect, or know someone who was a
Family
victim
member.
or a suspect, or witnessed someone being a victim or a suspect. This isn't something that is free from anyone.
Yeah, and it crosses all color lines, socioeconomic statuses, education levels, just people. You know, this touches every single person that you can even imagine. People hide it in different ways, and you can't hide from it either if you think that your money or your influence can hide you, and it's not acceptable either if you're in one of these relationships.
Yeah, no one's exempt.
Nobody. Right.
There's nothing exempts you from being a potential person involved in this.
It's
But not
touching.
only violence, like actual physical violence, mental violence is a thing too.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That is definitely something that plays a part in this kind of a relationship as well. How people mentally play on you to manipulate, relationships to get what they want or whatnot.
And that goes into different ways, even financial control.
Yeah.
You know, if I'm the one who's the breadwinner, or you can make the money, but I control
Correct.
how it's being spent, who's
How
doing
much
what.
is being spent.
Right. And that's also a form of control, not necessarily physical violence, but it's that intimidation. It's that control. Many of these situations are about just that control.
Yeah.
May not be as violent as what we saw in that video, but it is about control.
Correct.
And power.
And I know that the laws are forever changing around this because this is a very hot and touchy subject, right? A few years ago, legislator here locally in South Carolina decided to change a few things in the domestic violence law to make it a little bit more firm, I guess, but also added a few elements to make things a little bit better for enhancements, like taking people's phones in the middle of a violent conflicts, preventing them
of control.
Yeah, preventing them from being able to call for help. Right. And those elements can definitely enhance those things, and also violence in front of perceived children.
Yeah. I think it has strengthened in that form. However, I think it's softened when it comes to the verbiage of it used to be must make an arrest. An officer that initially responds must make that arrest, and it's been turned to may make an arrest. So it gives, yes, you can give an officer discretion. However, when you say may, and if that officer decides, well, I just don't want to make this arrest, that could leave the window open for that second call or that third call, and that second call or third call can lead to something very traumatic or even a death.
Yeah, I agree.
So I think that they may need to revisit that, especially in good old South Carolina.
Well, I think part of the problem is just because that honeymoon phase happened, right? If you look at, and I wish we would have thought about this now, but it didn't come up till we just started talking about this. The number of intimate partner violence or domestic violence arrests versus convictions, right? I wonder what the percentage is of that, right? I would just off top of my head say it's 50% or less.
Yes, because sometimes victims don't cooperate.
Correct.
There's so many variables that go into that. You may not have enough if you're on the prosecution side to get that conviction. You may not have a cooperating
Victim or
victim
witness.
in this case, or witnesses in this case. And you want to believe your victims if you have a situation where someone's reporting it. But you do have, in some circumstances, incidents where the system could be weaponized against that partner also. So we can't rule that totally out because that does happen.
Yeah.
I would say very small percentages. I want to believe our victims in these cases.
Yeah. I wouldn't disagree with you at all. Violence is just never the answer in a relationship. Whether you're married, dating, high school, college, young adult.
Yeah, and it comes back to those examples that these children, these young folk are saying, and what we're teaching them.
Yeah. Now, speaking of which, not to say that this would happen, but as a parent, how would you handle knowing that one of your kids was the aggressor in a partner violence incident?
Personally, I'm gonna speak on this personally. I provided an environment that they don't see that kind of violence. We've talked about these kinds of things, what's going to happen in relationships, how to actually discuss your issues, work these issues out. Sometimes you have to accept, hey, I'm not going to win this argument. Just a part of life. So I would be severely disappointed if one of my children were a perpetrator of such. That would be severely disappointing. So, and I've especially stressed that to my son about being how he handles relationships with women, how he talks to them. My daughter on how she gets talked to, how she what she would allow in a relationship, because they've seen that. They've seen their parents disagree, but they ain't never see me get in my wife's face. They ain't never see my wife get in my face. They ain't never see us throw something. Get any, they ain't never see that. There's been arguments like any other couple,
Correct.
but never something
Disagreements.
violence. Yeah,
This is normal.
that's life.
I think that the one thing, just like you said, they've never seen people get in each other's face. As being a man, you can't be intimidating women, right? Getting in their face, because 9 times out of 10, you can intimidate a woman without intentionally intimidating a woman, purely by your presence and demeanor. So it's important. You can get your point across. Ain't got to yell, ain't got to scream, ain't got to threaten, ain't got to throw stuff, ain't got to hit you. I can get my point across, without resorting to violence.
And things that have been very concerning to me when I hear, and I've heard this, and I've even asked one or two young ladies, it's like want a man to be able to, as they would say, handle me or take charge in these kinds of situations.
He ain't strong enough to handle a girl like me.
Right. And they're mentioning in a physical situation, physicality. I'm like, what does that really mean? I don't think that it's acceptable for that. And I've had the opportunity to be around a lot of young folk and had these kind of conversations. Sometimes it's just great to enlighten people on things, but it's been a little difficult to hear that.
Yeah, and it's always a concern of what kind of background they come from, what kind of lifestyle they had growing up to make them think that that's appropriate, and or things that they should be looking for in a potential partner. But one thing I would definitely like to see, and I don't know if this does or does not happen, is we waste so much time, energy, and effort in school behind things that are not applicable to life. There should definitely be some sort of class, schedule, elective, or something involving conflict resolution in relationships in high school. Because that is where kids are essentially, some kids start relationships in middle school. It happens. They got a little girlfriend, you holding their hand, walking to class, carrying their books or whatever. But real relationships start around that high school level, 15, 16, 17,
Most of the ones
18.
you kind of remember.
Yeah. They definitely start around that age. And learning a conflict resolution skill about how to maintain and different ways to approach dealing with conflict in high school or just in relationships be great. I mean, they do sex ed, right?
I don't know. I don't know about now.
I ain't been in high school in 20 years, but I remember.
They did when I was in school.
Yeah, I remember sex ed. I remember seeing them. I remember seeing them pictures.
Here's where the penis. It usually was a coach that coached it. You had who coached yours?
Yeah, it was a PE teacher,
right?
Physical education teacher who did the health and exercise science stuff.
No relation, but Coach Stan Montgomery was our coach, and that's how he sound. This is what a penis looks like, and this is a vagina. Then this, that, and this. I'm like, dude, come on, coach, stop playing, man. What you talking about?
Right.
This is what chlamydia looks like. It's known as haircut. All kinds of different things. Just crazy.
Yeah. But that's what I'm saying is we
sex education.
Pretty sure they're still doing that in high school.
They probably are.
Oh, well, whether they not, or I mean, those are things that if you're teaching kids and educating kids about healthy practices of sex, the education of sex, right? Why are we not educating them about conflict resolution?
That's definitely a must. I think we should be.
But it's not. Don't mistake what I'm saying as if it's the school's responsibility, because it's also not the school's responsibility to be teaching them about sex and sex education. That stuff should be coming at the house.
At home. From infancy. I believe that's one thing, amongst several things. Identification of who you are, that starts at home.
Yeah, so that's definitely something that I would like to see if it's not already happening. But we definitely have those conversations within my household.
Yes. Now we talked about, I guess, the father of that son, father of the parent of that daughter. Seeking help for that, and then also that young man, he needs some help.
Yeah, definitely. I think one of the things that is extremely important, and I think is even more accountable, is the circle in which you run with. Because if I'm that young lady's friend and I see this, girl, what the hell is wrong with you? Right. And vice versa. Like if me and you and we're out and we're friends with Joe Blow over here, and you see him grab his girl or something, like we just not gonna let that happen.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So
it's out of pocket.
Yeah. Making people be accountable is a thing that must happen too. So I say that because if you see your friends acting out of pocket and doing things, you don't just stand by for that. And if you stand by and allow your friends to do stuff like that, then you not no friend.
Now, it's two things I'm going to go with now. I'm glad that you brought that up. All right. Now, intimate partner violence in the workplace. So now, when someone's a victim of this or engages in this as a suspect, you're opening up so many other people to become victims.
Oh, Lord.
And they come up and they stalk you at your job, and it's been, I guess, I'll say a courtesy or some chivalry when someone would know, hey, some coworker's having a problem with their spouse, and they would walk them to the car. Now you're potentially bringing another victim involved because you don't know what's going on in that person's mind. Now I see them as, they're sleeping with them.
Right.
Or I'm so intent on getting to the person that's my intended victim.
He trying to steal my girl.
I've introduced a new victim when I come up there to shoot up or attack.
He trying to steal my girl.
Right.
I knew she was messing with him at work.
Right.
And then next thing you know, somebody else is a victim
Right.
of something that didn't have anything to do with them.
I had briefly worked for a company when I retired, and their policy was, said the victim could park close to the building, but absolutely nobody walks with to the vehicle, because essentially you're putting them in harm's way also. I found that to be a little disheartening, but in reality,
Liability.
it's a liability. You're putting another person in harm's way. And there's also, there's been countless incidents around the country where someone has come up to a person's job or in intimate partner violence is either
but that
taking the life of them or another person.
Right, but see, the problem is that doesn't just span to the workplace. Unfortunately, it can span to your parents' house, your brother's house. If you leaving your boyfriend or girlfriend and you going to your parents' house because something happened, now they showing up over there with the shits.
Right. And see, as a parent, I'm having a serious problem. You put your hands on my daughter
or my son.
I understand my son, but I just look at it a little differently. You put your hands on my daughter.
I don't disagree with you. I can never understand that, because unfortunately, the Lord only blessed me with boys, right?
Right.
So I don't know that love of a father to a daughter, right?
Yeah. It's more like a protection issue.
I wouldn't doubt it. Yeah. I wouldn't doubt it at all. But
I'm
I'm also the same way with my boys now. Young lady, don't put your hands on my son.
Right. Like this young lady, she was trying to kill this man.
Right. Don't put your hands on my son.
Right. So, and then also, as you mentioned earlier, and this is to my second scenario, you mentioned a friend of yours. What about when you just out in the street, you went to a restaurant, you got that unknown dude jumping on his significant other or some female? It's a difficult position to put yourself in, because I don't know the situation. I don't know if this guy's armed. I don't know. Am I going to put potentially my life in danger for this situation? Do I become just, hey, I'm a witness? Okay, I'm going to call 911. I mean, this guy's 6'2", wearing this and that, describing the situation, or intervene as an officer.
Yeah.
You got a duty to intervene.
Yeah. If you in the
police,
you got a duty to intervene and get involved, and I get that. I'm becoming a witness if I'm not. Obviously, if you're not, I'm becoming a witness.
Because if you're not,
because I'm not gonna lose. I'm not gonna lose my life. I just can't see that happening, right? But if it looks life threatening, then I don't think morally I could stand by.
Right.
What I'm saying? But if we're talking about an argument where may have grabbed her or something of that nature, I'm a witness calling, let's figure this out. But if we talking about my man's got a weapon or the young lady has a weapon and they're trying to do great bodily injury to someone, you can't stand around and watch that. Can't watch that. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's the difference. That's the line I draw in the sand. I don't know how firm it is in the sand for me, because I don't know that I could ever stand by and watch somebody be assaulted. Yeah,
and see, those kinds of things. And unfortunately, I hate to say this, but I had experience with individuals attempt to intervene to stop, then it turns on them. And then all of a sudden they're assaulted by even one, or if not both parties involved.
Right.
And that's very disheartening.
You dirty. I'm trying over here to help you and get my teeth kicked in.
By you and him.
By y'all.
Right. And unfortunately, those things have happened too. And so it's I guess a catch-22 in that situation.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I know that in years past, and when I mean say years past, I mean decades past, where especially men in the early 1800s and before, this was normal behavior.
Yeah.
Right. This is what you did.
Laws.
Yeah. This is what you did, and when your spouse did not do what they were told or expected to do, it's how this was corrective measures, right? At no point is it ever appropriate to, just my opinion, to be assaulting women as a man. And at the same time, young ladies, don't put your hands on me.
Yeah, I think Whoopi Goldberg a few years made a controversial statement. She mentioned, hey man, Don't be slapping these men or hitting these men and don't expect them to hit back.
Yeah. Well, the thing is that men aren't raised the same way that they were, in years past. It's
Now,
kind
hold
of
on, man. You just said that they were
That's
allowed
kinda-
to whip women,
no.
beat them on the courthouse steps.
But
I think when another law was if the belt wasn't as big as I think what it was 1 inch or bamboo stick or something. I forgot.
I don't know the exact law on that, but what I was gonna say is kind of contradictory to what I was saying about what was acceptable back then. But what I'm saying is that now men will hit a woman, boys will hit girls. You just very rarely hear you ain't supposed to hit a woman.
Yes.
Right?
Very rare.
Because most of the stuff you hear now, is she man enough to hit you? She man enough to get hit back. I don't agree with that. Neither way. Like you shouldn't be hitting men and men shouldn't be hitting women, but you're just so much more stronger than a woman. Just
for sure.
just your natural makeup of a man is just so much stronger than a woman that it makes no sense to be assaulting women and hitting women. So I'm not a fan of it. I don't like it. And if it's something you do, you deserve to go to jail.
Definitely.
There's no way around it. You hit women, you deserve to go to jail. But in the same sense, if you hit men, you deserve to go to jail too.
It's intimate partner violence.
Yeah. Ain't no one better than the other.
And in some states it's been opened up to reflect same-sex relationships too. So it's not it's exclusive to
men and
female
women
relationships.
Now, with that being said, we definitely put some links in the comment or in the description box for any kind of resources if anyone needs some. Yeah, that's definitely something we'll provide. Hopefully there's not many people that need those resources, and that would mean that life is good in that aspect.
Right. So essentially, just if you know someone who's suffering through domestic violence, please assist them in getting some help. If you are yourself, seek some help. Let's work on these conflict resolution skills. Teach our children, be mindful of what they're seeing, what you're doing, what we're doing.
What you introduce them to.
And what we're introducing our children to.
Yeah. And like always, we appreciate you guys taking the time to hang with us while we talk through some things. It's not always going to be fun and entertainment and things that you get a great laugh at. We want to have real conversations, discuss real things that we see or see the need to be discussed, right?
Of course.
And this is one of those things that's definitely something that needs to be discussed. And in the future, we plan on having more discussions like this and also some entertainment as well, right?
Some entertainment. This, again, is not Men on Film.
Like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Hang out with your boy Chauncey and Uncle Wayne.
Yeah. Tell your friends, tell your girlfriends, tell all your people, tell your sorority sisters, tell the frat bros, tell them all, come on, get our likes up, get some looks up. Check us out.
Yeah. And we definitely going to be having guests on the show as they coming. They coming.
Got some lined up.
That's right. We appreciate it. And as always, peace.